Tonight we are talking to Zach Zobel. Zach is our Chief Operating Officer for the Nebraska Nurse Honor Guard, and he has so graciously um, allowed us to interview him tonight for our newsletter. Okay, Zach, just as a first question, I think all the membership would really like to know, how did you get involved initially with the Nebraska Nurse Honor Guard? And second of all, with the same question, how do you see your role as the Chief Operating Officer?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to first start off with saying thanks for interviewing me. And like I say all the time, I get way more out of the Guard than I put into it. But as far as how I got involved with the Honor Guard, besides the obvious of my mom, I think if I think back to when this thing kind of all got started, I knew my mom was working on a nonprofit with you, Ann, and Sherilyn and Linda, and I think she originally asked me if I could help out with setting up a website, which then kind of turned into helping out with making a logo. And I think eventually it turned into me agreeing to maybe run the computer projector setup at the first Omaha area member onboarding back in November 2019. And it was really at that onboarding, I'd grown up visiting my mom at the cath lab when she worked at St. E's in Lincoln, and hearing and kind of meeting all these crazy nursing friends that she'd met over the years and stayed in contact with. But I didn't really realize it until that onboarding, just kind of how different and amazing the nursing profession is. There were several nurses there that hadn't seen each other in years and were hugging and crying. And it was just pretty neat for me to see as a kind of a pure outsider. I've coworkers that have kind of come and gone, and after about a month working with someone, you might not remember their name. So it really hit me that it seemed like this, nursing was a little different. And after that, I knew that, I wanted to try to help out with some way, for my mom and the Guard to kind of bring the vision of offering those tribute services to life. So, fast forward to today, and it's just unbelievable how quickly, the NNHG has evolved, from our first service of honoring Eleanor Barrett back in October of 2019 to having done over 200 thus far. From a kind of out of the blue first donation that we received to literally now having received hundreds of donations from amazing supporters, from the founding 4 board members to up over 100 amazing members today. It's just crazy how it's taken off. And I know, Ann, we joked around about, the Guard kind of being a living, breathing entity. And I think it truly is. And I'm just grateful for being able to play a small role in it. To answer kind of your original second part of the question of how I see myself in the role as COO, I kind of see that title as just a fancy way of saying that I really help out with all the behind the scenes things so that our board and our members can focus on doing a great job at the tribute services.
Oh, thank you, Zach. Yes, and you do a wonderful job. Okay, tell us a little bit about your background in IT, Zach.
Sure. Let me think. I guess, believe it or not, when I was coming out of high school, I was somewhat interested in becoming a doctor, which is the eventual path my brother chose. But that was pretty short-lived for me. I think I did some shadowing and realized I wouldn't be much use to a patient if I was going to pass out at the sight of the blood. So I did what any good young kid does in college. I took a couple years and tried to figure out what I wanted to do. And it was just by pure luck. I had a roommate at the time who was studying IT, and convinced me to take a couple programming classes, and I really enjoyed them and kind of continued down that path, and got very, very fortunate after college. Got a job at a healthcare analytics company managing a software product. That company was about a $100 million company. It was publicly traded, and we only had about 3 product people in the company. So I got the crash course in education and the ins and outs of software, but business as well. About 3 years ago, I decided to venture out on my own and actually launch my own startup, Metric Mascot. And that has separately been just a crazy journey of really extreme ups and extreme downs. And then, as it seems to be a theme for me, I just can't shake healthcare. About a month ago, I had a great opportunity to join another healthcare analytics company, doing some exciting new software development work for them. So, because even though I didn't become a doctor, healthcare just seems to want to stay in my life.
That's amazing, Zach. Yes, I believe you have healthcare in your blood, probably. Okay. Zach, why do you feel that it's important for the Nebraska Nurse Honor Guard to have such a functional, user-friendly website?
Yeah. And what's the saying is you can't teach a dog new tricks. You can't teach a nurse new tricks. We can confidently say that phrase does not apply to our group of nurses, because they've definitely proven that they're adaptable and are willing and able to learn all the kind of new technology that we've thrown at them. And I think that's helped us grow to 120 members. Just as I kind of touched on, 120 members, 200 plus services. I did list out just some of our milestones if we think about all the kind of bells and whistles we've added to our website. I think after the website was first built kind of early on, we decided that we needed the ability to accept payments. So we built that functionality out, and I guess since then it just seems like little projects kind of keep falling into place of things we think we should build out that'll be beneficial for either our mission or growing the nonprofit. We built out the virtual nurse honor wall. We built out our online member page, our online application page, community contact forms. We have that great new service calendar and the automated scheduling system. And then kind of to top all that off, all the behind the scenes admin functionality that we've built out to keep everything running smoothly. So I think it's equally as incredible to think back how far we've come from the website side of things. In the beginning, we were tracking a lot of this stuff on paper pretty manually. So it's definitely been an iterative process and definitely painful at times with having to learn new things. But I think we're at a really good point now of having everything digitalized, and we should be able to keep scaling in the future.
Yes, you definitely make our lives easier with everything you've done with our website. Zach, in your opinion, how could the Nebraska Nurse Honor Guard best engage its membership through use of technology?
That's a great question, and I think I'll start with plugging our latest rollout, I guess, which is our newsletter. With the 120 plus members we have now, and being up to 6 communities with the new North Central community added, there's so much going on with the Guard. So I think having a dedicated space for sharing those updates is a good start. Again, with the amount of members we have now, and that number will probably double before we blink. We'll need to keep thinking of ways for our members to not only share their ideas and feedback for the future of the Guard, but also ways for them to share their own stories and life updates as they happen. So I think one thought that comes top of mind, and we'll have to think through this a little more, but maybe doing some more regular kind of pulse member feedback surveys, and then perhaps even taking some of that feedback from those surveys and sharing it back to our members through some regular webinars. You know, as much as I love and think everything should be done through technology, there's probably not a better engagement strategy than getting together in person. So I'm looking forward to the fall conference coming up here in what will be a few short months. And I guess along those same lines, you know, thinking back to when we first got going, an idea that kind of we all had at the start was maybe thinking about scheduling some regular, you know, coffee or even drink meetups throughout the year. So I think we'll keep kicking the ideas around on what we can do for engagement, but it's just some rambling thoughts.
Oh gosh, great ideas, wonderful ideas. Well, you've touched a little bit on this already, Zach, but what do you see in the future for the Nebraska Nurse Honor Guard?
Oh man, that's another great question. You know, to be honest, if we had the crystal ball for that answer, and it probably wouldn't be near as much fun as us getting to see kind of naturally where the Guard pulls us. None of us, and I mean, none of us would have ever imagined that the Guard would have taken off the way it has. Yes, just for fun, you know, I can think of a few scenarios of maybe where this could head. Obviously, in the immediate future, we'll continue expanding to additional communities throughout the state. So that's definitely going to happen. You know, if you think in terms of what we do today with the end of life services, we're really focused on supporting the nurse at the end of their nursing lives. But I could see a future where maybe we focus a little bit more on the other end of the spectrum, which would be supporting nurses who are kind of just starting on their nursing journey. That could be as simple as partnering with some nursing schools to raise awareness about our organization, or even going as far as potentially offering some nursing scholarships in the future. You know, there's also that really large chunk of a nurse's career in the middle where we could do something as well. I came across a crazy stat recently, and around it's estimated that 80% of a person's health is driven by things outside of just traditional, you know, clinical medicine. So things like, you know, your diet play a big role, obviously, but environmental stressors, you know, where you live, you know, do you have access to healthy food, or, you know, childcare if you're a parent. So all those things play into what makes a person healthy. So maybe if there are ways in the future for us to potentially help out with, you know, nurses who for whatever reason maybe find themselves in need of some assistance, whether that's financial or even just we could build out some sort of support system for nurses to be able to talk to somebody else if need be. I could see that potentially being a worthwhile endeavor for us. You know, outside of that, I think the way we've really built and structured the Nurse Honor Guard, from kind of a nonprofit 501c3 status, and then obviously some of our website functionality, I think there's definitely going to be a future where we'll be asked to share more of our best practices and resources nationally as other states get up and going. So yeah, I guess those are a few scenarios of where I could kind of see this heading. But I will say, you know, one thing will remain certain no matter what into the future, and that we'll, you know, our focus and dedication to fulfilling our mission, you know, honoring the everyday nursing heroes who dedicate their lives to the profession, that will not change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, great ideas. Great ideas, Zach. It's definitely going to move forward. All right, last question. And you talked about it a little bit yourself. You do an awful lot behind the scenes for us, for sure. But in your years of helping us and being that COO and behind the scenes, Tell us about your most memorable moment with the Guard.
And another great question. There's a lot to choose from. I love going to our new member and community onboardings and being able to meet all of our new members. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. Obviously, being able to help out and spend time with my mom is something pretty special too. But I guess if you put me on the spot and say to pick one of the most memorable moments, it would definitely be one of the services I attended. And I think this was back in either December or January of like 2020. But the service was for Christy Martin. And during the tribute, there wasn't a dry eye in the church. And if I remember correctly, Christy was pretty young. I think she was like in her 50s, and she worked at Bergen, so there were a lot of other nurses in attendance who were standing during the tribute. And it was just so powerful and really drove home for me, the impact that our services have on the friends and family that are in attendance.
Absolutely. Oh, what a good memory. Yeah. Well, Zach, thank you so much for allowing us to interview you for our newsletter. And I so appreciate and cherish your answers for this interview. Thank you again.